Hey, this is Brett from Losthiway Customs. We're going to do a quick overview on how to mount the Shadowmarq auxiliary king shock on the front of this 2500 van. It comes with the upper and lower bracket and all the hardware to mount this this bracket kit in place, and it ties in along with the 2.5-inch king front strut. Okay, today we're here doing a big brake install on a 2020 2500 Sprinter. What we're also going to show you is the Shadowmarq auxiliary shock bracket for the king shock, the auxiliary shock that goes along with the strut. It's an add-on. This is the production bracket, the upper production bracket. This is the lower production unit. We're going to show you some of the, on the van, we're going to show you the prototype unit that we actually installed. So we have this out for reference, but basically this tab here in the back will index into the middle of the fender well, and you're going to have to drill a hole for that and use this this bolt retainer, nut retainer. Actually goes up in this slot back here. You can see the tab of that. It goes up and holds your bolt, your nut in place, so you can run your bolt into this rear portion that mounts into the inner fender. So that's how it'll look when it's installed. You use a factory slot back here. If you're not replacing this bracket from another manufacturer and you're using just solely our bracket, you're going to need to drill these 3 holes, and hardware will be provided. So these 3 holes are drilled. If you're replacing this bracket, which this upper bracket moves our shock forward, you can pick up some existing holes. This is kind of a universal hole pattern used in this bracket, but if you're not, 3 holes need to be required on the passenger side. So what we'll do is we'll walk over in a minute and look at the upper bracket on the driver's side, which is a little bit different. But let's move down to the lower mount bracket, and there will be no drilling for this one. You see these slots here, they pick up the front 2 sway bump stop pad bolts. You'll need to remove those, put this in place, relocate it, and you're provided a hardware bolt that goes through here through the lower A-arm that picks up this portion of the lower shock bracket, and then it's no drilling, just bolts directly into factory holes and provides the lower mount for the auxiliary shock. This is the driver's side upper auxiliary shock bracket. You can see these 2 holes here we drilled for that. You can actually also pick up this bolt in the front where there's a gusset on the firewall, or it can be drilled. There's another hole option for you up here to a hole that you can drill in the inner fender. So you've got some different options here of where to mount the bracket. These large holes are just clearance around some of those factory rubber bushings. I think there's a tank up there or something, clearance holes for that. And again, you're gonna need to use your nut lock that holds that nut in place. It slips in this slot and retains it up into that hole, and then you can hold that in place while you insert this bolt behind the inner fender. And then your inner fender will need to be trimmed also to this profile for the shock clearance. When you're installing your auxiliary front shock, you'd also will get a sway bar relocator bracket that moves the sway bar down in 1/2 inch and back 1 inch. So this bracket right here will come with hardware to bolt it into the sway bar bushing, the factory sway bar bushing. This gets bolted back into place with the factory bolts on top. And what it does is it gives you clearance between the sway bar end and the bracket that goes right here to pick up the lower shock mount.